welcome back. I am out here with the Ford, and I am super excited because we finally get to start building stuff again. Like all summer, we've been running the 51, which has been a ton of fun, but I want to get back to building stuff. So I'm really excited that I finally get to start on the Ford. So let me show you guys kind of what I've been doing. All right, so here's a good shot of the Ford. I got it up on jack stands because I think this is where I want the ride height to be. But you can see how little the wheels and tires look, and then we'll come over here to this side. It's hard to see, but oh, that looks sweet, doesn't it? All right, so like I said in the last video, we're gonna swap this thing to four-wheel drive. So these are some 33s on some nice 8-lug wheels. I think I really want to keep the white wagon wheels, but I had these laying around. They're off my '06. So they'll work for now, and I can figure out what wheels I want to run later. But these are the tires I'm going to run. It's a 33 inch. It's on a 17, which is not, I didn't really want to run 17s, but with the axles, I had to. So it'll have 17s, but I think it'll work out pretty good. All right, so we're going to four-wheel drive swap this thing, and these are the axles we're going to use. They're actually the spare axles I had sitting around for the 51, which... they're Dodge axles, and I know some guys are going to give me some crap that I'm not using Ford axles, but these, well, I had them, that's why. And if you guys know anything about Ford axles, like especially like highboy axles that would come in a truck like this in a four-wheel drive, they are very expensive. But these are much, much cheaper because I have them. So Dana 60 front, Dana 60 rear. We're going to swap the front over. These trucks ran a 5-link in the front, so 4 links here and then a track bar. I'm going to swap it over to a radius arm like what one of these trucks would have had from the factory. We'll use the factory axle brackets, but we'll build some radius arms for it. And then in the rear, got some nice brand new 3-inch 2500 leaf springs, and we'll build mounts and everything for it. But these should get it up, and these should work pretty well. So first thing I got to do, we're going to tear the rear axle out of it, because it's easier than building the stuff for the front. And honestly, I don't have the radius arm stuff in the front, but we'll tear the rear axle out of it. We'll put in the new Dana 60 and kind of get it mocked up and figure out where we want ride height, and we'll go from there. All right, so that didn't take long at all. The 9-inch is out, which this is actually a 79 F100 9-inch. It's 4 inches wider than a 67 to 72, so it actually fills out the truck better, because when Ford went twin I-beam on these, they made the front 4 inches wider, but they didn't do it to the rear. So this one's actually a little bit wider. So now the next move is we got to pull these leaf springs out, because I'm not going to reuse the leaf springs or anything. Because, well, if you watched the last video, you saw it wheel hopping like crazy. And these are they're very soft. It rides like a car. I'll give it credit. It rides really well. But it's not going to work for what I want. So leaf springs got to come out. The shock's got to come out, because we're not going to reuse those. Probably not a bad idea to maybe pull the exhaust at this point. But, these hangers, everything's got to come off. And then we can slide the 60 under here and put the tires on it. Kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. I'm kind of excited, except for the fact of having to pull these hangers off, because they are riveted on there and they're rusty, and a lot of grinding. But that's what you got to do. Alright, I got one set of leaf springs out. It's actually not terrible. They're pretty soft rivets, which is pretty nice. But this leaf spring here, so I'm getting rid of it because I don't want to run these light duty leaf springs. I want to run the heavy duty ones, so the ones I got are 3 inches wide. These are like 2 1/4. So they'll be a lot stiffer, they'll hold the weight better. And the other part of it is these leaf springs were closer together, like span-wise, than what that axle is set up for. And I could have cut the mounts off and moved it in, but I really don't want to do that. I want the springs to be wider because it'll handle a little better. It'll control the weight better. It'll just be a little bit nicer overall. So we just got to cut the other side out. All right, both leaf springs are out. I just got to pull the shocks. And the reason I'm pulling the shocks is I'm not going to reuse them. If you look at them, they're both in the front of the axle going forward, one here and one over there. And that's not really where you want them. So what I'm going to do is use the shock placement on the axle, which has one going front like this and one on the back going rearward. And the reason you want that is for wheel hop, like power hop situations, which since this thing's going to be four-wheel drive, it's going to see a lot of loose surfaces. And that can really cause power hop. And what happens is your axle will actually twist under power hop or wheel hop. So it'll twist up and drop back, which if you know anything about shocks, you know on extension, the force is usually 3 to 4 times higher than on compression. So when they're both in the front, as it rotates forward and they come up, you don't have a lot of damping force. When they rotate down, you get a lot of damping force. So it allows the axle to twist pretty aggressively. Or when you have one in the front and one in the rear, when one is extending, the other is collapsing. So you get high damping force in both directions. And during ride going down the road, they both compress the same. So it's really a better setup to have them staggered. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these out of here. And we'll try to use the mounts on that Dana 60. We might have to move them. You know, the frame's not in the same spot. But we'll figure it out. I'll pull them out and slide the 60 under here and we can start mocking it up. Okay, so I got the rear axle underneath. And I've got the leaf spring under there, kind of just chilling in there right now, figuring out where it's going to go. I don't have any U-bolts, so I'm kind of stuck. But I got the wheel on, and I took the rear end up a little more, but I had to put the front on too. And God, it looks so sweet. Like, I mean, look at that. Look at that stance. Like, God. Yeah, this is what this truck needed the whole time. I mean, look at it. I think that's going to be the stance. The rear might come down like an inch, but God. And the rear wheels are tucked pretty tight. You know, they're pretty even in there. I think when I buy wheels, I'll get a little bit less backspace just to stick them out a little more. But God, that looks freaking sweet. Like, it kind of looks like a big Hot Wheels truck. Like, I don't really like the wheels, but they kind of give it a Hot Wheels look. But God, this thing is sweet. Like, I gotta get U-bolts, and then once I get U-bolts, we can actually start fabbing up some rear spring hangers and stuff. But this is sweet. Like, this truck is gonna be awesome. Like, I cannot wait till this thing's done. But I gotta get some U-bolts, and then we'll start building stuff in the back. All right, U-bolts are on, plates are in. Kind of got the springs where they want to be. Got the axle centered up. I got it marked out on the wheel well where it needs to go to line up. So I think we're all set now. So what we'll start with in the front is making a hanger to connect this to the frame. Once we get both of those done on the front, we'll go to the back and we'll make a shackle mount, which these are going to run the shackles in the up position, which will give me a bunch of lift compared to how they're run underslung like normally. So we'll flip them up to the top, make some brackets there. That all looks good. I think everything's gonna fit in here really nicely. So time to make some cardboard and see how it goes, then cut them out of plate and start hanging some steel. All right, I got the first hanger mocked up in cardboard. It's kind of wedged in there because the jack stand's in the way. But that'll kind of be it. Should be able to get a lot of weld on it. And it'll be 1/4 inch plate. I still got to build a top piece in here, but I think that'll work. I'm just going to trace this out on some 1/4 inch plate and then see how it fits, but I'm liking it so far. crooked as can be because of that exhaust hanger that's still up there, but it fits really nice. It's gonna work perfect. So just need to copy this one and then weld them both up, get them on the frame, and the front spring hangers will be done. This little girl, she might be the old Harbor Freight special, but she'll lay some nice welds when you put the heat to her. Whew. She's all fully welded up, inside, outside, everywhere. That thing is not coming apart. And the other one's already cut out. I got to weld that one up, but it's coming along nice. You know, for being a cheap welder, I'm pretty happy with that thing. Having fun?
Yeah, lots of fun.
Alright, so I got some weld on these front mounts. They're where they need to be. Measured them out, squared them up, so they're even left to right. Everything should be good. So now we got to make some mounts for the rear for the shackle hangers. And then once we get them made and tacked in, then we'll set the rear end down on the weight. If everything's good, then just lots and lots of welding. But for now, I got to figure out what I'm going to do for rear mounts. Alright, I got a couple inches, maybe an inch or so on the fronts, and the same thing on the rear. So they're all mocked up in there. I just want to set it down and see. I got the jack stands out, so I'm going to lower this cherry picker down and see what it looks like with some weight on it before I go and fully weld everything. Hopefully it doesn't just collapse. I don't think it will, but oh, that's a scary sound. All right, so the weight is off it. Not bad. Not bad. All right, that looks good. That looks good. It's a little low, but well, the jack stands up front, all the way up front, so it's probably sitting a little lower in the rear than it will. But even still, there's no blocks. I can always add like a 1-inch block if I want to bring it up. But it looks good. It looks really good. Hell yeah. Now I can fully weld the rear in. Let me get a full shot here. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Finally, the rear just needs welding. That is good. Man, I'm excited. It's gonna be sweet. Well, the rear's sitting on its weight. It's fully welded. I think it's good to go. Got to make some shock mounts at some point, but I think that's where I'm going to wrap this video up, because the front's going to be a lot more labor intensive. We're going to build a custom radius arm setup for it, shock mounts, spring mounts, everything. But I mean, it actually has suspension. There's no shocks, so it's a little bouncy, but I'm excited. This thing, the height's about where I want it. Might be a little low, but I can always add a block because there's no blocks in it. So I'm getting excited now.